Welcome, everyone, back to Read the Book First. Today, we'll be discussing How Stella Got Her Groove Back, the 1998 film. And to help me discuss it, we have Alyssa.
Hi. Also, this movie is 1998. That's the same year I was born. What? So this movie is
What?
26 years old. What the heck? Yeah. I'm sure I said that last time, but it always blows my mind when I see movies that were made the same year I was made. I was like, oh. I'm like, oh.
Oh,
I am baby. Also, am I old? Old baby. That's how I feel when I see movies made the same year I was made. I was like, oh my God.
that's awesome.
I'm very excited to talk about the movie because the book was like, it was okay. But the
hmm
movie, Angela Bassett,
hmm
I love her so much. So I'm very
Yes.
excited to see the little Harvard grad. I'm so excited to see and talk about
Yes.
this movie.
Absolutely. And if you've not listened to our previous episode, we did talk about the book, and spoilers ahead, as all of my podcast episodes are. And just a little housekeeping. Make sure you check out our Patreon. Alyssa and I just recorded a fun little blind ranking of pop culture vampires, and the results will shock you. Um, and that is
Sorry.
it's not your fault. It is the wheel's fault. The random wheel did us dirty. Anyways, check out the Patreon links in the below, and also check out Alyssa's podcast, Stories and Spoilers, where I've had a few episodes. I've joined her on over there, and a few more we're planning. So
Yes,
yeah,
stories and spoilers. We discuss books. I do non-spoiler episodes, spoiler episodes. I interview authors, discuss their inspiration behind their books, and talk about all the movie casts I would love to see for certain books. And yeah, we do a lot on there. So on Spotify and YouTube. So yeah, definitely check me out when you have the chance. But thank you for having me.
of course. I love having you on the podcast.
Yeah.
This movie was such a fun watch. We ended up accidentally watching it around the same time, so which
Yes.
was really fun just to text about our initial reactions. Unplanned. We had just both been watching it. The screenplay was co-written by Terry McMillan, which I think is a
That's
good
pretty cool.
choice. And I think you see the changes make sense because an author wrote the screenplay. You know what I mean? Like
She had
you
more
can
control.
tell.
Yeah,
Yes.
it didn't feel like this felt like a pretty accurate book to film adaptation. Like
hmm
not page for page, but I felt like if you
Yeah.
didn't read the book, you could still watch the movie and like discuss it in a book club if you missed the meeting. Some people have
hmm
done that. I'm not a cop. I'm not a cop. But some people have have watched movies and been like, the book was amazing, and then they only watched the movie though. So
hmm
I know it's a crime in the book community, but you could
Hey,
do that with this. If you didn't want to
you
read the book,
could.
you could probably watch the movie and get away with the crime.
Yes. No,
So
I agree. So this book was inspired directly by Terry McMillan's experience of going to Jamaica,
mm-hmm.
falling in love with the man. Spoilers, ended up marrying him. And then what happens after this movie and book were released is that that man ended up cheating on her and telling her that he was gay, and then they ended up getting divorced, and it was messy. We talked about that a lot in the book episode, so go listen to that if you want our full like thoughts about the situation. Why this movie is way more enjoyable than the book to me is because it felt more real, and I think that's
Mm.
because one, the book has like that stream of consciousness, which I didn't mind. You know, we talked a lot about that last episode, but I think with this movie, it's more real, even with the changes. And I think it's because it's just based off of real life, right? It's like a
Yeah.
kind of like a fictionalized memoir of sorts.
It did kind of feel like I was reading like a diary or like listening to a long voicemail from a friend. It
hmm
felt the book felt a lot more like you said, like a stream of consciousness versus the film felt like I actually had a steady timeline. There are a lot of points in the book where she goes to Jamaica, he visits her, and like there were times where I was like, I listened to it as an audiobook and I was like, man,
hmm
this is getting kind of confusing because like they're all over the place and it's hard to know how
hmm
much time has gone by. Versus with
hmm
the movie, I felt like you could see certain things changing, like the seasons, or her son would come back from a trip and it's like, okay, it must have been a few weeks. Which for
hmm
me, like timeline means a lot. If the timeline's messy, it's hard for me to follow along.
hmm
So this film felt evenly paced. And it also felt like the relationship, it made more sense why they would make certain decisions because I felt like they were together longer. In the book, it
Yeah.
felt like they were only together for like, it couldn't have been longer than a few months. This
Yeah.
felt like it had to at least be a year, maybe around a year.
hmm
So, or at least a long summer. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that felt kind
No,
of nice. Also, their
I agree.
chemistry felt more natural in the movie versus in the book. It felt a bit like one sided at times. This didn't
Yes.
feel like that.
It did feel less one-sided, I agree. Yeah.
So yeah.
Um, this movie stars Angela Bassett, and it opens with her running in like the woods somewhere, and then it
Yeah.
transitions right to her girl bossing in at work. And I love
Mhm.
that for her. I love
Ring
Angela
ring,
Bassett.
make me money. It's exactly make me the money.
Yes.
Yes.
The I will say the her in the office talking like the business talk was like so like what I as a child thought business world was.
Me
I'm like, I'm pretty
too.
sure this is not what they talk about,
I'm gonna
but
wear a suit and I'm gonna make this shit happen. I don't even know where
hmm
I'm going. I just know I'm going to the office, wherever that is. I still don't have a sense of direction. So it's one of those things where I'm like, yeah. And like it what was I gonna say? Something about hearing her talk about like stocks and bonds reminds me a lot. If you like women in busy workspaces having those like iconic moments of like just get it done, watch industry because that's exactly what it feels like is women in a space where usually it's dominated by men and they're discussing like stocks and bonds, but it's in the UK. Get it done. That energy is in that show. It's on HBO. It's
cool.
so fucking good. But that's what I got glimpses of. I'm
Yeah.
like, this could have inspired shows later on with Black women in those spaces. Like, get it done.
hmm
So that was really cool.
Yeah.
So
I love Angela Bassett, and also think it's kind of funny that she's also in Terry McMillan's other book to movie adaptation, Waiting
Waiting
to
to
Exhale,
Exhale.
which I've
Mm-hmm.
still not seen. Um,
So good.
but it's on my list. But I think it's fun that she got recasted in another Terry McMillan, but she's essentially
Yeah.
playing a version of Terry McMillan, and I love that Terry was like, I'm assuming she had some help in the casting. I'm assuming
Yeah.
she was like, she's gonna be playing me because she's one of the best actresses on the planet, and I
Who
love
wouldn't want
that,
Angela Bassett to
right?
play you? It's like if your life became a movie, who would you want to play you? Of course, you want a
hmm
hot person to play you. Like you would want
Absolutely.
someone fine as shit. So when they show the real life
hmm
picture, it's like, yeah, all right. Like they both have
Yes.
brown hair. Like that's all you need. Like I love
hmm
when people are aware of that. So, oh, that's a good question for
Yeah.
the end of the episode. If we had like,
Yeah.
if our lives became real movies, who we want to play us? Food for
Yeah.
thought, listeners.
I'll definitely have to think about that. Stay
Yeah.
tuned.
I can see Sydney Sweeney for you. I can totally see that.
Oh,
Yes.
nice.
Yes. I can totally see that. Hell yeah. Mm-hmm.
Um, Speaking of actresses, then we meet her sisters at the spa, and we
Yes.
have Suzanne Douglas playing her sister Angela and Regina King playing Vanessa. And I
Yes.
love Regina King.
I do
And
too.
I love her. And I was just like, this movie is so 1998. Just every single set piece, every single like all the costumes
The
and the outfits,
hairstyles.
the hairstyles.
Woo.
I was like, this is so late 90s, and I'm obsessed.
The outfits, like everything was very like I
hmm
see when you only see pictures of your family back in the day and you're like, you look great. Like people still wear this to this day, like the high rise mom jeans, the like
hmm
the cropped cardigan, the matching top, like the just like little earrings, like very like charmed. Anyone who loves any of those
Yes.
charmed girls out there, those outfits,
Yes.
very like late 90s. But I'm like, those outfits to this day would look gorgeous.
hmm
Like, oof.
hmm
So yes, I absolutely
Yeah.
love that.
As soon as I realized it was Regina King, I was like, this casting popped off because
Yeah.
beyond the two main characters, I didn't know who else was in this movie, So that was just like exciting.
I will say that Regina King, the first thing I think of is oh my gosh, Poetic Justice. And she played a
hmm
similar character in that movie
Yeah.
as well. So I'm
hmm
like, all right, girl, like you're everywhere. She was also in If Beale Street Could Talk. She played the mother.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, she
I've
was
not
in
seen
that book to
that.
film adaptation. So
I've not seen or read that, but the book is on my shelf.
it is
I will read
very
it.
good. I read it a few summers ago and I was like, get the tissues ready because
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
cried.
Yeah.
But so good. If you ever want to do
Yeah.
that, once again, my therapy bill will be sending it to you. But every book you're recommending to me, you're like, you should read the new Hunger Games book. I'm like, isn't that like super sad? You're like, mm-hmm. I'm gonna go.
Sometimes you need books to cry to distract you from the reasons the real world is making you cry, you know?
Ooh, that was good.
Thank you.
All
I was kind
right.
of a joke, but it
Oh,
kind of is really real to me.
it's funny, but also it was
But
tragic.
all that's from my soul. Anyways, sisters are fun, and we get not much of the sisters in the beginning. We get them a lot in the towards the end of the movie, which I thought was good. It's just a little sprinkling. It's very obviously their dynamic is that Stella, who's Angela Bassett, but Stella is like the stable one who's had success, who is like trying to like kind of parentified. She's like parentified a bit here, right? Because we have the one sister who is trying to like be successful and is partially like it's all about her husband's success, less about her own, but she is pregnant.
100%.
And then the other sister who is kind of just like asking for money, crashing cars. She's an ambulance driver.
But she
And
whips
it's
that ambulance.
uh-huh.
She's driving like
Yeah.
it's in Miami. She's really
Yeah.
whipping that ambulance like it's a Toyota. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. She's kind of
So
messy.
So I think they did a good job of making the three sisters different enough. I always like when family members are not the same in books and movies because
Mm.
especially women, because oftentimes when it's often a male writer writes and like all the sisters are the exact same, but like with different colored hair. It's like, no, that's not how it is. Like they can have similarities and similar
Hmm.
trauma from childhood, but that does not mean that they're the same. And
We
I
all deal
like
with
that
it
here.
differently.
Yes, and I like here that they are all different.
Oh yeah. And you could
Yeah.
tell like who's the youngest, who's the middle.
Hmm.
I also really enjoyed how like the same judgment it was coming from a good place. Like you could see in the spa scene where they're in the spa and the three sisters are like in robes and they're getting their toes done or whatever. Like one of the sisters is like, you need to find a man. Like your son needs a father. And Angela
Hmm.
Bassett's character, Stella's like, he has a father. Like
Yeah.
you're implying that like this needs like he would need to be replaced. And I'm like,
Hmm.
the dad's actually very active. So now you're just
Hmm.
implying that Stella needs a man just to be with someone. And it's like
Hmm.
it was I think only siblings can talk to you that way. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Like especially when you're an adult, like only another a relative, like a sibling can be like, "Hey, you need this." And it's like, what?
Do
So,
I?
but yeah, but I could see at least from the film's adaptation, that sister was from her in her mind, a husband equaled like security. So I
Hmm.
think she just wanted her sister to have security versus
Hmm.
Stella's like, I'm already financially secure. I own a property. Like my son is taken care of. I love him. I don't really need much else.
Hmm.
And the really like free flowing sister is like, don't you want like affection? So for her mind,
Hmm.
it's like a man's purpose would be to fulfill that sense of loneliness. And
Hmm.
Stella's like, well, I have you guys. I have my best friend, Whoopi Goldberg.
When I saw that Whoopi was in this, I as a kid was obsessed with Whoopi Goldberg because
What?
there's this old show called Hollywood Squares that was on TV when I was like little, before you were alive. Um, like it was like some of my earliest memories, just because I'm just
Oh,
enough older than you. I was 4 and I'm more than 4 years older than you. So, but there's a show that was called Hollywood Squares, and essentially imagine like a tic-tac-toe box, but in each it's like a cubicle stacked up, and so
ooh,
there'd be a celebrity in each tic-tac-toe box,
I
and
love that.
a guest, like random person on the game show, to come up and answer questions and ask the celebrities for help. But Whoopi Goldberg was often on that show. And I would watch that show
Cute.
with my dad, and I was just obsessed with her. And then we watched Sister Act because my dad was like, well, she's obsessed with Whoopi Goldberg. Let's watch Sister Act. That's an appropriate movie for a little kid, right? And I was just obsessed with her. And so much so that when we went on vacation down to Mexico, like when I was 5. So just, I had no cultural knowledge. I got some white girl braids with beads in them because I wanted to look like Whoopi. I was obsessed. And
Oh God.
uh-huh, obsessed. And I
The
did
haunted
have like,
image.
yeah, and yeah, I was obsessed with Whoopi, and I just remember as soon as the ladies finished my braiding my hair, I just like felt so like amazing. I was like, I'm just like Whoopi because she had braids at the time, and I just like, you know,
It's
as
okay.
a five, it's I was 5.
It's gonna be all right. You were a
I'm gonna blame my
child.
parents.
It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah,
Greg and Linda didn't mean it. They didn't mean it.
you
Random names,
know,
may I add. Those are not her real parents'
those are not
names.
my real parents' names.
They're
No.
not her real parents'
Hmm.
names. But
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
actually never seen Sister Act. So
girl, it's
I
good.
know.
It's
I know
good.
it's bad. I haven't seen Ghost yet either.
I've
I've
not seen
seen the
Ghost
iconic
either.
scene, like the pottery scene, but
Yeah,
I've never actually seen the movie.
same.
Yeah, man, there are certain things in life. Just you have to catch up at some
We got to
point.
catch up on our Whoopi discography. Anyways, the character Delilah, who is Stella's best friend, is played by Whoopi
Mhm.
Goldberg, and this is the biggest change
Yep.
character-wise throughout the movie because in the book, her best friend had recently passed away, which is true to Terry McMillan's life. Terry McMillan,
Oh, wow.
before she went to Jamaica, both of her mom and her best friend had recently passed away.
Oh.
So I think it's a smart choice to bring Whoopi not just in for like comedic, you know, value because
She is
she's a
funny.
comedian and she is funny throughout this. I love her. But I also think it's smart because it's a sounding board for Stella, where in the book we just hear her thoughts
Mm,
constantly. So I think it's good to have a character there to kind of be that sounding board for the audience so we weren't stuck with voiceover.
I get that. I
Yeah.
also think Whoopi like was her voice of reason, and like
Mm-hmm.
later in the film we do see a scene where they're near the water,
Mm-hmm.
and like Whoopi is like God is here. There's not that spiritual sense of like I don't know. She felt very like grounded. Like she was funny.
Mm-hmm.
She was very grounded in reality. She like if she was happy somewhere, she felt at peace. Like she's like, yeah, like I feel close to God in this space. She felt vulnerable with Stella, and I feel like Stella needed that vulnerability so that she could later be vulnerable
Mm-hmm.
herself. So I was like, yeah, Whoopi. I missed the character in the book. I don't feel like we really had that for her. And you're
Mm-hmm.
right, having it in the movie, I'm like, that was actually a hole that needed to be filled. Like
Yes.
Taye Diggs' character, love him, but he was not the only character who loved Stella. And you can tell
Yes.
Whoopi really did love her. So I was
Yeah.
like, it gives Stella more, I think it just made her warmer. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? To see her love someone in like a sisterly way and like like in a best friend way.
Mm-hmm.
And it also made her relationship with Taye Diggs make more sense. And I was like, she needs to open up to him at some point. Something needs to push
Mm-hmm.
her there. So we'll get
Yeah.
there, but I'm just sitting here. I'm like, we needed something that actually would like force her to
Yeah.
open up. So
Yeah. Yeah.
we'll get there, but yeah,
Yeah. It's not often that you have a change in a movie that you're like, I wish this was in the book. But Delilah's
right,
character, I'm like, I wish this was in the book. What did you
yeah.
think about the before she gets to Jamaica, where she's at home and it's raining and she's watching
Mhm.
TV? What did you think of that little the bit with her on the TV?
Oh my god, I liked how they okay. So book to film, I liked how she could see herself on the screen. It was like changing into her. I like that. I like that they kept that the same.
Mm-hmm.
Her getting the call from the guy. This actually happens later in the book, but in the film it happens earlier. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, sure. When he calls her, he's like, oh, I'd like to see you. And she's like, yeah. And she's looking at the screen. She's thinking about like the screen and going on vacation. And he's like,
Mm-hmm.
she's like, I just want to. Like, she's like, I just want to go on. I'm not going to mess with you. I'm like, I'm easy or this or that. He's like, oh, I love a woman who's so direct. She's not paying attention to him.
Yeah.
And I like that it was very clear from the very beginning. Her goal was to go on this trip in that moment like, I want to go on this trip. I want to escape. I want to decompress. My son's on his trip. Her son, before he gets on his flight, is literally like, Mom, go have fun. Like, even though, like, he's not an adult, he is a small child. It was
Mm-hmm.
sweet to have him, like, be like, I just want to see you happy. And he could
Mm-hmm.
tell she wasn't. So I was like, yeah, go girl. Like, go on your little trip to Jamaica. She didn't need a man. She needed to, like, find herself and, like, make time for herself. So I was like, this movie inspired me to make time for myself. You don't realize you're not doing stuff for yourself until
Mm-hmm.
someone has to tell you, like, you don't really go out anymore. And her son had to tell her that. So I liked how the
Yeah.
guy thought she was flirting, but it was more so her talking to herself. I liked that change. And even though in the book as well, he calls and she's not interested at the time for different reasons, I liked how this time she was interested because she was doing something for herself. So that was a good
Yeah.
update to me.
Yeah. I agree.
Yes.
Her face on the TV just like it's such a good choice to make her like the longing of wanting a vacation and
Mm-hmm.
wanting, you know, that I think it also is just so funny. It's like it was a good amount like the humor in this movie is like it's not over, like it's not
Mm-hmm.
hitting you over the head with the funny bits. And I thought that was like a good example. But she goes to Jamaica and she gets there and she meets Delilah there and when they're walking when after they check in they walk like outside there's like a random man who says like a worker at the hotel who or the resort who says welcome ladies. That
Yep.
is actually a cameo of Terry McMillan's then husband that she had met in Jamaica. Yeah, because
What?
they filmed this before they had split up, and so he's in there like the real Winston is in there just for a
Wow.
second. Yeah, I thought that was like a fun
That's
little
cool.
cameo. Yeah. Delilah has immediately made friends with this hilarious couple of guys.
Mm-hmm.
One's like an ex-NFL player who is very like ditzy, and I think the whole joke is that he's got hit in the head a few too many times. And then one's this like kind of old, gross guy. And their names are like Buddy and something else. I don't know. And like she's like, so Delilah's immediately like, I found two guys. I'm gonna take the hot one. You can have the gross one. And Stella's like, nah. And I'm like, good for you, Stella.
I'm not having your I'm not having your sloppy second, the one you don't want. Like
Right?
that's like having a bowl of fries and being like, you can have the last crumpled fry at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Girl, I want the crispy on the top. What? No, no,
Yeah.
no. So I will say when she pointed over to them and she was like, the man, I was like, Whoopi, you know dang well, Ghost Whoopi, those men are not attractive. Also, there's a guy who like walked past them and he was like, hey ladies. And he turned around, they're like, ooh, there is something to be said for getting a compliment and you know you look good. I
Mm-hmm.
don't, even if you're not interested in that person, it's
Mm-hmm.
nice to get that attention. And it was nice to see Angela Bassett's character, who I do not believe for a damn second is like, no one sees me. No world. That's
She's
fiction, girl.
gorgeous. Yeah.
I'm supposed to believe this woman is burnt out, hasn't felt sexy in ages, hasn't felt beautiful in forever. Then why would you cast Angela Bassett? That would be like casting like, I don't know, Scarlett Johansson, and she's supposed to be like, I don't know, like decrepit and like sad and crusty.
Mm-hmm.
It's Scarlett Johansson. She literally has a whole skincare line. Girl, what? No.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no possible way. But I did like the way that Winston was introduced into this movie. I wanted to know your thoughts about their first initial meeting. Did you think that she was rude with the way she responded to him, or do you think that she was more cautious? I'm torn.
I think it's a bit half and half. I think she was rude because she was being cautious. Like I think she meant to be cautious and it just came off as rude because she has that like armor on, right?
Yeah.
Because she, is a woman in business, a black woman in business, and then late 90s, like she's gonna have to deal with a lot of shitty men. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think she like probably has this like wall that she puts up to protect herself for fair reasons,
Yeah.
right? And I think in this moment, she's just like, oh, this is some dude hitting on me. I've dealt with this before, right? But
Mm.
so I think it is slightly rude, but I don't, and just, like without context, rude, with the context of who she is and where she's coming from, she's just being cautious and trying to protect herself. You know what I mean?
I
That's
get
how
that.
I felt it. But I did think it was a good start for their banter because like Winston's responses are always like sweet and witty. He's never like defensive. He's never aggressive.
No.
He's just like, he's sweet and he's like, all right, I'm going to say a joke, but really, you're beautiful. And she's like, oh, okay. You know what I mean?
And it's Taye Diggs. Like I'm sitting here
Mm-hmm.
like Taye Diggs, brown sugar, Taye Diggs, best man. Like he's naturally like suave and beautiful. Once again, I'm a lesbian. But Taye Diggs is literally like he's the blueprint for like when I think like sexy but not trying,
Yes.
classy but not like pompous. Like he's very
Mm-hmm.
you just can tell in the book, okay, in the film, his family is wealthy.
Mm-hmm.
And Taye Diggs himself, because he's so famous and wonderful, is wealthy. If
Mm-hmm.
you ever see him in any interviews or anything like that, he's very like giggly and like
Mm-hmm.
you can tell he smells good. It's just something about it. Something about I'm not. But I'm sitting here and I'm like, there are certain people who smell bad, Brad Pitt, and there are certain people smell good, and that is Taye Diggs.
I've never thought
Yeah,
about how Brad Pitt smells, but you are absolutely correct
you
that
can
he
just
probably
tell
stinks.
he doesn't
Yeah.
believe in deodorant. He can afford an entire building of it, and he does not believe in it. That's the energy
And no
of
one
Brad
around him
Pitt.
will say that he stinks because he's too rich. You know what I mean?
You can't even eat the rich because he'd stink so bad. Like it's just, you can't. You know who also probably smells good? The guy who plays Superman, Henry Cavill. You can
Yes, he
tell
does.
he
Hmm.
smells like scotch and smoke and leather. He smells like something old and fun. So
Yeah.
yes. But
Yeah.
Taye Diggs, he is sitting across. Okay, so he's sitting at a table. They're outside. She just finished her run, and her best friend would not go with her that time. She's
Okay,
coming
Whoopi
back.
taking 3 steps of running and saying that I'm done was so relatable. I was like,
She's
girl,
on the
same.
beach, and she's like, "We're gonna run together. It's gonna be so great." Well, he's like, "All right, I'll support you." She's like warming up.
Yeah.
Running on the beach is hard because the sand, it's
Here's my
hard.
thing. Here's my thing. If you want to run in real life, best to you. But Stella, I had this issue with Stella in the book as well. Her
Yeah.
consistently running on the beach every day on her vacation.
Yeah.
Vacation is not for running unless you are going on a marathon trip. And then also, like, how is your life a thing? Good on you. Can't be me.
Yeah. Girl,
I running on the beach.
that's a twisted
No,
ankle waiting to happen. What if a crab
absolutely.
comes out and like nips in my ankle? What if I step into a, I don't know, a pothole? I don't know. There are
Yes,
crabs
I agree.
that push trash cans in Hawaii. Girl, I'm not messing with
Hmm.
you.
Yes.
I'm gonna run on the sidewalk like a normal person. What? So
Hmm.
no, no. If for maybe 20 minutes, 45 minutes tops. Mm-mm,
Yeah.
mm-mm. Also,
But yes,
sunscreen. Didn't see her put it on.
no, it's the 90s.
I
Yeah.
need someone to put some sunscreen on. Dang, no. But this girl starts running. Her best friend, she's like, "Oh, I'll catch up with you." Does not catch up with her, understandably.
Hmm.
Understandably. And then I also loved the swimsuits. I loved all the color. I feel like colorful wardrobes have kind of gone away. It's very beige now. And I'm like, I kind of miss color. So it was nice to see her like playing with color. And it was cool. And you see from the beginning of the film, she wears a lot of browns and whites and grays. And then she's wearing like a oversized football jersey when she's on the phone with the guy. And it's very like, just you could tell that a lot of things that she owns are either previously her husband's clothing or her work attire. You don't see her in anything that's
Hmm.
leisurely. Nothing that's like maybe makes her feel good or makes her feel comfortable. It's all things that just happen to be there or serve a specific purpose. Versus on the trip, you see her like wear the white lace nightie when she's trying to get out of her comfort zone. You see her begin to wear the blue swimsuit. You see her begin to play with color, and it's just fun and it's very sweet.
Hmm.
Even the scene with Whoopi Goldberg and her, and they're taking things out of her bag, and Whoopi's like, "Ooh, can I try this?" That's such a sisterly and best friend kind of thing. They'd be like, "Oh, can I borrow this clothing or this or
Hmm.
that?" It just shows her comfort with her, and it was very adorable. So in the moment, she's at breakfast eating one piece of fruit, one bite of toast, movie logic, and Taye Diggs is across from her at the table, like he's a few tables away, and he's like, "Are you eating alone? May I eat with you?" And she's like, "I won't be here very long." And he's like, "Oh." He like walks over with his little tray, and she's looking at him like he grew a third arm, not his peen, but he grew a third arm, and he's like, "You're so beautiful," blah blah blah, and you get to hear her dialogue, like I guess like her voiceover throughout the
Hmm.
film, and he's like,
Hmm.
"Damn, he's so fine." Like she's looking at his body part. She's from the female gaze. She's gazing at his body, and his just ooh, and she's like, "How old are you?" And he's like, "I'm gonna be 20." Or is he? I'm gonna be 20.
He is 20, which
Oh,
I'm
to be
glad they made him
21.
20, so he's not a teenager.
Oh,
And honestly, that 1 year
thank
did
God.
miles for my brain.
Thank God.
Is it still sketchy like we talked in that book
Yeah.
episode? Yes. But is it better because he is 20 turning 21? Absolutely. Not
Listen,
perfect.
I love a
Don't
good taboo
recommend.
romance as long as they're in their early 20s, early to mid 20s. I think you're an adult, do as you please, as long as everyone's
Hmm.
consenting and happy. He
Yes,
was
yes.
consenting and happy, so her bringing it up over
Absolutely.
and over again. I'm like, okay, he's a grown ass man. He can say
Hmm.
yes or no.
Hmm.
But yes, so she brings up she thinks he's a baby, A, B, and C, and he brings up the PJ party, and he's like, I hope to see you
Hmm.
there. I'll be waiting for you. He's really initiating. Same thing with the book. He's really pursuing.
Yes.
Um, yeah, and she ends up
She skips dinner with Delilah,
he skips dinner with her best friend.
like that, that's a shitty move for
Yeah,
anyone, even with the context that we find out later, especially. But like all like Delilah would have been absolutely fine if she said, "Hey, I met someone, let's go to this party instead."
yeah,
She would have been like, "Okay, cool." You
yeah.
know? And I was like, in this one moment, I was like, Stella, don't be a bad friend. Stella,
You're literally on a trip
Stella.
together. If you wanted to
Ah.
have sexy private time, hey girl, I'm gonna go back to my room.
Hmm.
Are you safe? Are you good? My concern is I'm not leaving you on an island with guys you just met. No. Even though we're adults,
Again, traveling as a woman,
no.
you need
Yeah,
to
no.
you
I'm
need to have
sorry. Unless you
someone know where
say,
you are.
hey, I want my time, or like I'm gonna have, some time. All right, girl. But once the door's closed, I don't know if you're safe. I don't know this guy.
Hmm.
Like, what?
Hmm.
My first thought is just like, are you safe? And
Yes.
because it's a movie, thank God it's not that kind of movie. But I was like, Whoopi Goldberg, you're better than me because
Hmm.
Whoopi walks into the PJ party, and it's in the book. I thought the PJ party was a lot more like Sade playing in the background, the friends
Yeah.
on the beach. Like I thought it was a lot more calm. In the movie, it was more like a club
Yeah.
beach they had a DJ. There was a lot more people. I didn't remember
The
in the book
dancing
it
was
being that
hilarious.
crowded. Yes, but in the movie it was a lot bigger. I
Hmm.
was like, oh, okay, cool.
Which I think is good because if it was just like kind of awkward scene, then I don't think they would have ended up anyways because there would have been no sparks there.
True.
But within the dancing scene, we see Winston kind of not
Yeah.
seduce totally, but like help. I mean, seduce her a little bit, but
A
like
little
help,
moves.
like, but mostly like helps her be like turn on vacation mode and also
Yeah.
like break down the walls that she has to use on her daily life, right? It's less so because she's already like earlier when they first meet, she's like, he's hot and smells good, but he's young,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. So like she was already attracted to him. So it's not like he
Yeah.
has to like earn that attraction. It's more like, okay, make her feel comfortable, realize
Mm-hmm.
like that you're safe, that she can relax, she's on vacation, And I liked that they used the dancing scene for that. The dancing was hilarious. Again, very 90s, like,
Yes.
Stella's her dances are always like her hands up like bopping around and that just cracked me up. I've seen my mom dance at weddings and she dances a very similar way and I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
maybe this is just how ladies danced in the 90s. Like
It's like the
yeah,
white girl
very
jump.
like
It's like a
it is very similar to like a
it's
white girl
iconic.
move as a white
In
girl.
every era. Speaking of sinners, you get your little river dance. Yeah,
Oh
baby.
yeah.
Like, move those shoes. Move those shoes. It's dude, in every I think everyone has like a safety move when dancing that
Yes.
you don't look too bad. But like
Yes, yes,
everyone who's
yes.
dancing, you have to give it's like
Mm-hmm.
that scene from Euphoria. It's like I feel stupid. It's like everyone does. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Everyone feels that way at the beginning. So when dancing, she has to put her, let her hair down. And then there's a
Mm-hmm.
guy who walks by and like she notices people are kind of scantily dressed in the situation, and the clothes are beginning to kind of fall off. And Whoopi Goldberg's
Uh-huh.
looking around like, oh my god! So we're learning
Uh-huh.
the pajama party is actually like a nude
It ends up being,
lingerie,
yeah, because that
like
creepy guy buddied strips
yeah, he rips off his robe and is wearing like a speedo. It's a very kind word. A speedo that
a banana
accentuates
hammock.
his banana and barely. And Winston's character is like, I can't compete jokingly.
Yeah.
And he ends up walking her to her room. And Whoopi Goldberg goes to her room and is like, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
And it's the first time that we see Stella admit that she like likes Winston a little bit and like they're
Mm-hmm.
just having a good time. And then Whoopi Goldberg's character refers to her being like a cradle snatch, like jokingly like a cradle
Yeah.
snatcher. And we hear that reference later on in the film as well about that. And I was like, ooh, ew. It
Yeah.
makes it like
But
cringy and
also
weird.
Delilah's like, haha, you're robbing the cradle, but also she's like, but go and have fun. Like she's like, I'm
You're
gonna
on
make fun
vacation.
of you, but go have fun. Like in the like in a just a vacation fling way,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's the next day they go to the pool and Winston and Stella are both in the pool, and Winston and Stella's
Mm-hmm.
just like, "Do you want to be intimate with me?" Is
Yeah.
the phrase she uses, and Winston's like, "Yes."
Yeah. Yeah. We get to
Yeah.
see from Winston's point of view when she like
Hmm.
dives into the water and like
Hmm.
one of Winston's friends at the bar is like, hey, she's here. And like when he goes into the water with her, I like how direct she was. This felt more mature to me. Like instead of
Hmm.
this dancing around it, like what we read in books, it's like, I want you. We can't be no, as an adult, would you be comfortable with pursuing this with me?
Yeah.
Very clear, yes or
Hmm.
no.
Hmm.
Also out of the bedroom where things like, you're in the setting, there may be pressure. They're in a pool. It's broad
Hmm.
daylight. Do you want to be intimate with you? He is taken aback. He was more used to the having to like, I guess, pursue.
Yeah.
And she was more comfortable with, hey, I don't, I'm only here for a certain period of time. She is a businesswoman. She's like, okay, are we going to like talk about
Hmm.
it? Or are we going to do it? You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
liked the confidence. We needed the
Yes.
confidence. Also, Winston's age did show a little bit just because I feel like he wasn't used to someone so forward. And
Hmm.
it showed that maybe he has not had that much experience and he has not, been able to
Hmm.
communicate about things like that. He has to chase all the time with an established woman or established person.
Yeah.
They can clearly communicate, I know my worth. I want this. Do you also want this?
It could also be the American versus the Jamaican
Oh,
mindset
true.
too,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I think there is a part like within the power dynamic of the relationships, especially later on in the
Mm-hmm.
movie. It's like, okay, she's in her 40s, she's rich, she doesn't
Yeah.
need him for anything but support as a partner,
Yeah.
right? Where he and then she's also American and very like will say her mind in kind
Yeah.
of a brash way as we
Mm-hmm.
do as Americans,
Yeah.
whereas he Jamaica, and like in the stereotypical way, Jamaica is like more laid back, right? The island life.
Sure.
But it's also just like culturally he was raised slightly different. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that clash comes up a lot towards the end. And it's like the money clash, and less of the age clash, more of just like the money and communication issues rather than the age thing. Like, I mean, the age thing gets brought up, but I don't think that is the real issue that
No.
they are dealing with later on,
I also think judgment. I think she was
Yes.
afraid of the way that she would be judged just for being with him at certain points.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think at times he brushed aside a little bit of her concerns about that. I will give him grace where it's like, what else can he do? He straight up says in the film, like, I cannot be older. Like, I am this age at this point. You knew I was this age when you started dating me. It's not fair to say I wish you were old. He can't do anything with that. It would be like saying
Mm-hmm.
I wish that you had a better job or you had this, you had that. It takes time, like to get
Mm-hmm.
to a certain degree. Education wise, it takes a certain amount of time to get to a certain level in your career. It's not fair to say I wish you were here when that person is at a certain age or
Yeah.
just hasn't gotten there yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I liked that on her end, she was aware that she was probably going to
Yes.
get looks. She was probably going to get this and that. And on his end, he was outspoken a little bit more than he was in the book, where it's like, I can't be older.
Mm-hmm.
I just, this is who I am right now. And I can't change this for you.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, he can't change his age for you. So we do get
Yeah.
to see them at the pool. And then it transitions to her hotel room and they're
Mm-hmm.
like laying on a blanket and
Mary J. Blige is playing,
yeah, they're like
you know.
overlooking the island. He puts
Mm-hmm.
his hand in a bucket of ice.
Yes. And then
I
he puts ice
guess,
on her for like a joke to break the tension. And I'm like, what a
yeah.
20-year-old thing, you know?
What?
And yeah,
Yeah.
and it breaks the tension. But I really like her response to it is that she's like, "Okay, give me a minute," and she goes and pretends to like be in bed, but it's really this
Yeah.
pillows. And so he goes up to the pillows, and she like jumps on his back, and like I like that she responds to his failed attempt at playfulness with a good attempt at playfulness. And
Yes.
like I do like I'll talk at the end of whether or not I think the characters have good tension there.
Hmm.
But I think this scene in general, I think was really well
Well,
done. It's slightly cheesy, but like that's good. That's what we needed, right?
we did need it.
Sometimes when you're on a vacation and you're having a fling, you need the cheesiness. Like
That's
this is
true.
not reality, right? And
Yeah.
I thought it was sweet. I think it was well done.
He made
It's
her
very
more playful. We didn't
yes.
see that before. And we got to see, like, where she, I think, made him more outspoken at times. He's a lot more forward because of her, which we see
Mm-hmm.
later on. He made her more playful. And I think that positively affected her ability to sit up to her sisters, but it also made her more playful with her best friend. She was able to meet her on certain
Yes.
points. And I like that.
Mm-hmm.
She kind of got to let go. And at times when he was unsure of himself, she was able to say, like, you bring this and this into the relationship. You are very smart. You'll do great in school. Have you ever thought about A, B, and C? Like
Mm-hmm.
she, you know, where she has certain knowledge, she's able to share that with him. And where he has certain like views of life, he's able to kind of share that ethos with her. And it
Mm-hmm.
was that I appreciated. And that to me was the most accurate thing in a relationship was one
Mm-hmm.
person is going to be better at other things than you are.
Yeah.
Instead of comparison, how can we improve each other's lives in our own way?
Yeah.
That was very cute. I like that. The
Yeah.
sexy scenes I thought were really well filmed. I don't feel that they
Mm-hmm.
were like showing too much of her, showing too much of him. Like it was very
Mm-hmm.
intimate, steamy, if you will.
Yeah.
But their
But still like
also
a
their pillow
fade to
talk was fun
black
too.
situation.
Yeah, and like
Like
their pillow talk was cute.
yeah. No, I thought it was a very cute scene, and I think yeah, it did a good job of what you're just saying, like them meeting at a similar level, similar playing
Mhm.
field. Um,
Intimacy, as this is the best way to describe it. It felt very intimate
yes.
when they were
Yeah.
talking and being together. It was cute.
Yeah. Um, and then the next day, Winston tells Stella that he got a job, and
Hmm.
Stella immediately gets super bitchy.
Yeah.
And she's just like, well, then you should have been playing with my emotions. Da, 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 da. And he's just like, yo, we slept together once.
Yeah.
And like her reaction, it's like you can tell this is just her projecting her past issues with relationships here,
Hmm.
right? Like it's just like it was over the top. I understand why due to her former like relationships and being hurt for over and over by men.
Yeah.
But Winston is like, I still want to see you. I just gotta work. I'm trying to chase my passion. Like we were just talking about the night before, you
Yeah.
know? And I think I think this is a realistic situation, but also does it am I pleased that that's how Stella react? No, I think she should have been a little bit more patient,
Yeah.
but it is what it is. It is how people react sometimes, right? But then
Yeah.
and so the rest of the vacation they don't see each other, but he keeps
Hmm.
calling and Delilah's like, "Girl, go call Winston. Like you had some sort of feeling. I've not seen you this happy and playful for a while." And
Hmm.
so they plan to meet up before they leave, and Winston's a no-show. And so she ends up so like in the movie version, they sleep together once, they hang out
Hmm.
3 times
Hmm.
before she goes back to the States. And I mean, I not that I don't believe in insta love because I think some people do fall, you know, in a version of love fast. I think
Yeah.
that's for sure possible. I just don't know if I believe it for Stella in this book, in the movie version. You know what I mean?
I don't think at this point she's in
Hmm.
love with him. I think it's sexy. I think he's
Yes.
new. I think
Yes.
he's fun, and I
And
think that she can
different.
appreciate his qualities. I just don't think
Yes.
that that's enough to be in love yet.
Hmm.
I think that I think she hits love later on when like
Yeah.
things get hard and he
Hmm.
shows up for her out of his own like volition. I think that is when it's like he has a job there. He mentions his father was a doctor. He didn't want to be a doctor. He loves cooking. It's a passion for him.
Hmm.
And he references like his parents like not being controlling per se, but like heavily wanting him to pursue a certain direction in life, and he diverging from that and being nervous. Like he's used to, um, pursuing his own thing. So for me, I was like, I liked how we got to see Winston be scared about something and vulnerable about
Hmm.
something, and see her be able to step in, chair, like really be there for him. I will
Hmm.
say her getting angry after he got the job and he couldn't come over. I will switch it this way and say that she saw him in a very vulnerable position. He saw her in a very vulnerable position. She may have possibly felt used with him just not being
Oh,
able
for
to be there for
sure.
her. But also he's on a
Yeah.
booty call. Like you're right. He had told her he was interviewing for a job. He had told her
Hmm.
that he has a life there as well. You're visiting this location. He lives
Hmm.
there. Like when you leave,
Hmm.
he still has to make an income. He still has to make a life. Like give
Yes.
I would have tried to see it at least from that perspective. Also
Hmm.
privilege when you have money, you may not have to think about what it's like to have to start from the bottom. When that was your past, that's his present. Like, girl,
Absolutely.
So just, I get it. It was a great night, but not every
Hmm.
night can be that for him.
Yeah. No, I
So,
totally agree.
yeah. But like
Yeah.
him standing her up, all I could think about was that we got a shot of him in the kitchen later on when she called him, and you could just see like his boss like in the foreground. Like it broke my heart. Like you could tell he's doing the best he can. Like
Yeah.
yeah, it made me a little sad. But
No. Yeah, for
yes,
sure.
she does end up leaving. She goes home.
Yeah. She
Yeah.
gets home. Her sisters bother her because Delilah told um the uh
I think the younger sister.
yeah, Regina
Yeah.
King's character, I forget her name. And
Hmm.
so then she told everyone. So they're all like teasing her about this younger man. And then also Stella gets fired.
Hmm.
Quincy comes home and it's like a very quick turnaround, but Winston ends up calling and they chat for a second and immediately um oh yeah, and Quincy was like, what if we instead of going to Africa, what if we went to Jamaica? And I was like, girl, y'all going to Africa? What? What? How much money do you have?
I have to assume we also see the shots of her home,
Yeah,
and
she's rich.
it's massive.
Uh-huh.
Um, but I also will say that like we get to see her son wearing like Tommy Hilfiger, like for
Hmm.
children. That's a very expensive brand to this day. Just like
Yeah.
Oh gosh, like I'm trying to
Rich.
give Stella grace. I really, really am. When I think she's like playing with her son. She's doing something outside, and he's like, "Oh, someone's calling for you." It's Winston.
Hmm.
When she speaks to him, you see her literally slide on the floor and like talk to him on the.
She turns
Like
into
you
like
can
a
tell she's
like
happy.
she's super cute and happy in the moment. And so they end up going back to Jamaica and she brings Quincy and then her niece Chantal, like they do in the
Hmm.
book. And then Winston comes over and Quincy is like very hesitant when they
Yeah,
meet, which understandable.
yeah,
And I love that Winston's like, I know how to do this, and like just like cannonballs and starts playing Marco Polo with them. And I thought that was like such a sweet moment. Like Winston's like, I know how to get people to like me. Like I'm a
yeah.
cool dude. Yeah.
Children are just like people. They're just
Hmm.
tiny people. Like,
Hmm.
I like how he um there's a scene later where he's with Stella's son, and Stella's son sees that his mom is happy, and he pulls Wilson to the side, and they're in her like room. She used to work on furniture, and she tells, I think when they're in bed and they're having their pillow talk, she tells him like she used to work on furniture,
Hmm.
and she used to design it. She used to go in the middle of the night and like make sketches. He's like, what happened? And she's like, I had to make money. Like I had to
Hmm.
grow up really fast and do what she had to do. And her son ends up bringing Winston to the back of the house where this room used to be. It's super cluttered,
Hmm.
very dusty. And her son turns around and looks at Winston and is like, can we have a real conversation here? Beware, he's like 12. But once
Hmm.
again, he's still a person. Like he has knowledge, he's smart, like he's a little person. And kids know a lot. And he looks at him, he's like, my mom's very happy. Please don't hurt her, you
Hmm.
know. And Winston's like, I don't see it. Like it's something about like, can we have an adult conversation? And Winston's like, I don't see any, children here. Like, cause he talks to him like he's an adult. Very
Hmm.
sweet. And Winston's like, I don't want to hurt her. Like, I really like your mom. And I was like, that one more score for Winston. Like, just the compassion when she's not
Hmm.
around, he still talks to her son in a very respectful, sweet
Yeah.
way. His intentions are pure. I was like, obviously she's rich, but Winston's not there for her money, and he's not there to see what he can get from her. He's just trying to be there for her as a person, and he likes her son. Also,
Yeah.
Winston's family's rich too, so Winston's
Yeah.
not like this is not new to him. We later see
Hmm.
Winston's family's house. Like in the film,
Yeah.
he's used. I'm sure he's used to this way of life because his own family is wealthy in
Hmm.
Jamaica. So it's like, and he also has his own drive for his own career. So I don't think that he was pursuing her for those reasons. And I like
Yeah.
that was very clear,
Yeah.
you know?
I let's talk about the scene with his family. So Winston
Mm,
surprises Stella and the kids
yes.
by bringing them to his family's house to meet his parents for
Mansion.
dinner without any like, hey, heads
Heads up.
up, you're gonna meet my mom and dad.
She's in like
That
jeans and a cute top.
Yeah, so she like feels off, but also they've hung out 3 times,
Yeah.
4 times maybe,
Yeah.
and she's like, I'm not ready to meet your parents. And he's just like head over heels, like he's like, well, I'm ready for this. I was like, this is like the one like little thing that Winston does,
Yeah.
um, that I'm like, dude.
I wasn't super supportive. I will say as well, when we see his mom,
Hmm.
gorgeous man, but when we see his mom, she's like looking at her with the same look. If you've ever been brought home by like a boyfriend or a girlfriend, and like one of the parents is super warm and supportive, and the other one is like, "That's my fucking baby." Like, what the fuck?
Hmm. Hmm.
You know what I mean? That energy,
Hmm.
I have had it. I pray none of your listeners have ever had that feeling, but you know the look of like one of the
Hmm.
parents where it's like, "What are your intentions?
Hmm.
Like, what's going on?" If it's casual for you, it's not casual for my child. They obviously like you a lot. Doesn't
Hmm.
matter how old they are, that is still their baby.
Yep.
Ooh, I saw the look from the mom and I immediately knew. I was like, woo, this age gap is a fucking problem. And even if it wasn't an age
Uh-huh.
gap, no girl was going to be good enough for him. That is her
Oh no.
baby. Boy,
Yeah.
mom, 3000%. So I was like,
Hmm.
woo. So we later see Stella inside the house at some point, and the mom, she's like, oh, can I help you with anything? Very sweet. And the mom is like, I have help for that. Okay. Then she's like, you know what? Stay. Stella is sat. She is sat and not in a good way. And the mom is like, what are your intentions with my son? That's my baby. And like Angela Bassett's character, Stella, is like, it's not a baby, like he's a man.
Hmm.
And the mom is like, no. She was like, that's still my baby. That's my son. Like, you're 40? Like, okay, okay. Like, I understand. But also like, ooh,
Yeah.
ooh. She just makes she makes her feel like the only word I can use is ain't shit. Like, she makes it seem like she's a predator. And I was like, that's not true. But that's what the mom's painting it out, is like that's the vibe. And I was like, no. She was going outside and she sees Winston, and I think anyone would feel like crap going into a situation unprepared, and then you're also getting read for filth by his mom. So you can't really stand up for yourself because you just met her. Like, it's a lot going on. Your kids are here. It's a lot going on.
Mm-hmm.
And long story short, they get to a little disagreement, and Winston's like, I'm not a child. Like, I'm a grown ass man. And she's like, your mom just read me for filth out there. And he's like, I'm sorry that happened. My parents can be very protective. And long story short, she's like, you're still a boy. And he's like, that was not what you were saying last night. 50-50. You can't sleep with him and then make him a child. Like, you can't label him as a kid and then sleep with him. That's not okay. But also, the way he flipped back, I was like,
Yep.
this is not the time. Like, you already fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
There's a way to defend yourself without making it worse.
Yep.
It wasn't great on both sides. It was
It's
not
not
great.
great on either sides. Like,
Yeah.
he should have not had put her in that situation, and she
Yeah.
shouldn't have
Not
like
have
brought the
caused
age
him
thing up
that.
again. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But then
Yeah.
their argument is interrupted because we find she gets a call from a hospital in New York, and we find
Mm-hmm.
out that Delilah ends up dying because she had cancer that she had
Mm-hmm.
not told Stella about. And so Stella rushes to New York, and it kind of just cuts to the funeral, and Stella talks at the funeral, and um it's, one of those like quirky little talks where it's like, Delilah would have said to hurry up and stop talking too much, and she gets this cute, like really good heartfelt talk at the
Mm-hmm.
funeral, and then Winston shows up to
Yeah.
support her without
Yeah.
asking, and I thought
Mm-hmm.
that was such a good move because
Yeah.
it solidifies their actual relationship more than it does in the
Mm-hmm.
book. Ah, I mean, I
I think
don't
she
want
fell for
Delilah
him
to die,
then.
but
Yeah. I think
yes,
she fell for him then. Like,
yes.
no questions. We all know he has a job. We all know it's hard for him to
Mm-hmm.
get time off work. He said F all that, and he showed up for her
Mm-hmm.
after an argument that was not dehumanizing, but definitely hit his pride. Doesn't
Yeah.
feel good to be called names.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yeah. It was nice to see him put that all aside for what was important.
Yeah.
Um, we also see a scene earlier on when she's with Woodley before she passes away, and she's in the hospital, and
Oh yeah, she calls and we get to see
mhm, and
beforehand. Yeah.
she like sings to her and lays in the hospital bed with her. And
Mm-hmm.
um, as someone who loves someone who is battling cancer, it's really hard to like witness someone you love go through something you cannot help them with. All you can do is support them.
Mm-hmm.
So this scene
Mm-hmm.
for me, I definitely got emotional. I was like, this is really fucking hard. But
Yeah.
it was also nice to see her. The core of the story wasn't just her love story; it also was her love for her friend.
Yes.
And it also kind of solidified, like, hey, like all this, like he's young, and you lost your job and this and that. Focus on what's important, like your quality of life. If you like him and he likes you, stop wasting time. Like, figure it
Mm-hmm.
out, make a compromise. Like, that felt like the movie became more grounded a little
Yes.
bit. And I think we
Yes.
needed that. It was just kind of, he's young. And I was like, okay, are you leaving or are you
And
staying? Like, you
yeah,
gotta make a decision.
exactly.
So it was nice
I
to
agree.
see that. The tone definitely changed a little bit. And
Mm-hmm.
then after the funeral, like he's in the crowd and she hugs him.
He
And
tells
then
her that he loves her,
yeah,
and then he goes back to San Francisco with them,
yeah.
and they go to the family cookout the first thing they get back.
Mm-hmm.
And the cookout scene, what a scene. It's like a bunch of montages or like little snippets of the cookout. And,
Yeah.
you know, the fact that
Her
her
ex-husband's there.
ex-husband's there and like
Yeah.
so
We don't
chill
really
as a
see
child.
him in the book. It was nice
Yeah.
to like see him in the movie.
Like they're
Uh
co-parenting a bit.
yeah,
And I was like, but like as a child of divorce, when I saw the ex-husband, I was like, oh no, oh no. And I was like, Janessa,
yeah.
they have a
You
casual
yeah,
relationship. It's
yeah.
fine.
Yeah, as a child of someone whose parents were separated, like from
Yes,
the
yes,
very
yes.
beginning, I did
Yes.
like how it makes sense he was at the cookout just because he's not
Hmm.
that's still his son. He probably still had a relationship with the family. It makes sense he
Yeah.
would be invited,
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, like maybe he showed up. And also the scene where he's sitting in the chair with Winston and they're both sitting side by side. And you see that the ex-husband refers to like, oh, she's, when you're with Stella, like she's always right. And like he's a little bit not jaded. You can tell he's been through a lot with her, and his perspective of
Mm-hmm.
her is very much like she's a problem you'll never be able to fix. That was the vibe I was getting.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
you get to see with Winston, even though he's younger, you do get to see a certain level of like class where it's
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, we may have problems, but those problems are between me and her, and that's private. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not gonna share with you, she's this, she's that, but I take care of it. That's fucked up. Versus saying, you know what, I hear your concerns. I have it handled.
Yeah.
You're a good man. I'm a good man. Let's just keep it there.
Mm-hmm.
No boy talk here. Like, he's a fucking man. And he was like, well, did it work for you then? You He gives us all this advice. He turns to him, he's like, did that work for you? Obviously not. You're divorced.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell? So it was nice to see Winston gently be like, keep that over there, good sir. In a very light tone, but you can tell he's very smart. He's like, yeah, I'm not gonna take advice
Yeah.
from this fucking guy. You're
Yeah.
divorced, what? But respectfully. And then we get to
Mm-hmm.
see him dance with her, and she tells him she loves him.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like that for me felt real. Like where
Mm-hmm.
it's like, her family's loud and her sisters are in the corner gossiping and her ex-husband's right there. And it's not messy. It's just life. Like you have a lot of
Mm-hmm.
things going on and you're bringing a new person into the fold and he's taking it with such grace.
And his I
Yeah.
like in movie version the movie versus the book is that her family accepts him way
Mm-hmm.
quicker
Yeah.
than they do in the book. Like that one sister that's pregnant, she is like still a little like her nose is like she's a little snooty still,
Yeah.
but it's like it's more of a oh that's just how she is, roll your eyes at her kind of situation. Where in the
Yeah.
book, it's a lot more there's a lot more conflict between the sisters accepting Winston. So I did like that it was a smoother transition for him to just
Mm-hmm.
kind of at least acclimate to the family. But then the next like bunch of scenes is like her we kind of talked about this a sec like earlier,
Mm-hmm.
but she is definitely ashamed to be with him. Like they go
Yeah.
to the
The
movies and they see
movies.
this like goofy movie that young people like versus not the snooty artsy movie, like that kind of thing. So she's dealing with that a lot. He wants to pay at these fancy restaurants, but he can't afford to because they're
Yeah.
expensive and he doesn't have a
Yeah.
job while he's in San Francisco. And that causes issues, and I think like it's just then the whole boy versus man thing comes up because Stella is paying for him and
Mm-hmm.
he's starting to feel the effects of that. But, I think those are all situations that would come up in this scenario if someone, you know, was in Winston's shoes, came to the US to be with his partner who was mega rich. You know what I mean? So like,
These could have been uncomfortable conversations
mhm,
before. Like for me, like if we're in a
yes.
restaurant and we know, and I know it's an expensive restaurant, we could have in the car or while getting ready. Hey, babe, I only have like $200.
Hmm.
If this place is a $500 a plate place, my budget, I only have $200.
Yeah.
If you love me so much, why can't we discuss my budget? If you
Yeah.
love me so much, why would you put me in a position where I can't afford something and now you're saying out in public, which may make some people uncomfortable? I
Hmm.
got it. Like you're a boy, I got it.
Hmm.
The name calling plus the money part, that will be enough to turn me off.
Yes.
Versus we could have discussed this in private. Like, hey,
Mm.
this is my budget. I know you want to go to this restaurant. I can only afford an appetizer and our main meals. I can't afford 2 bottles of wine. Like, and
Yeah.
that's okay.
And
Can
that's
we
fine.
compromise? Yeah.
Go to Cookout and get a hot dog and milkshake. That's
What the
fun.
hell? I'm sure, and also San Francisco, I am sure there are some cute little bistros, very
Hmm.
romantic. You knew who you were with. That's my thing. It's like you
Hmm.
knew he was 21. You knew he had just gotten a new job, which you were upset that he had to go to after intimacy time. You knew a lot of these things, and you're throwing it back in their face.
Yeah.
Like,
And
ooh,
she's expecting him to adjust to her way of life that she has
mm-hmm.
established here, and she's not changing her life at all to accommodate him. And not that you
Hmm.
should change your whole life or whole personality for a partner. Absolutely not. But there should be some compromise, right?
I
Like,
agree.
like that, doing activities and dates that he likes or he can afford, or it's part of what
Hmm.
he grew up, And I think that part really bothered me about seeing this, because I was like, she's just making these mistakes that are adding to the issues that could have been avoided with a conversation, you know?
This from the book to the film, the three top tropes I can think of is miscommunication,
Hmm.
um, grumpy sunshine,
Yes.
or some would say like black cat golden retriever energy. And the
Hmm.
last one has to be like age gap romance because it's such a
Yeah.
big fucking part of the story. Like in
Yeah.
every conflict that it comes up. But yes, miscommunication is also up there. Like, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, everyone hates that trope. But in real life, that is
It
most
happens
people's
all the
problem
time.
is
Yeah.
miscommunication.
Yeah.
Like, how are you going to go to a restaurant that you know your partner if they're not working right now? Also
Hmm.
flew here with his own money. He flew here for your friend's funeral with his own money. We don't know when he's going home until
Hmm.
later. And it's
Hmm.
like, what did you think he had? 2 grand to burn? Like, what do you mean? Like,
Yeah.
even normal people, like, not everyone has that to contribute
Hmm.
to just an entire trip out of the blue, unexpected. Like, how is that fair? So for me, I'm like, if you love, for me, love requires communication and love requires vulnerability. And that may sometimes have to do with money, and that
Hmm.
may have to do with trauma. Like, hey, I recently got divorced. I have a son, and I'm finding myself again. I'm not used to a man contributing to a dinner. I'm not used to being with a partner so vulnerable and who's demanding that vulnerability from me as well. I'm not used to opening up like this. I want to, I just don't
Hmm.
know how.
Yep.
That's you
And
say your girl,
instead,
but she doesn't act like
yeah.
that.
And instead they just argue and argue and argue, but then it leads them to having shower makeup sex,
Yeah.
which we get to see his butt.
We do get to see a little bit of chocolate booty. And listen, I love butt as much as the next person. But I was sitting here and I was like, okay, I need you to say I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sex is great. I need you to say
Oh yeah,
that
because he
was really
proposes to
fucked up. I'm
her.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. She like
He
rubs
proposes
his
to her and
back.
she's like, no. And then they argue and then they have shower sex and they don't
Girl.
resolve it until, and then we have the
No.
hammock scene though, which I
Yes.
know.
I was so grateful for that.
I know. I
I
was like,
love
when
the
the
hammock
hammock scene, I
scene.
was like, hammock scene, Alyssa's gonna love it.
Yay. I loved the hammock scene. I think it's because it was just, I felt like they met in the middle in the book. The hammock scene to
Yes.
the very end of the book, period. That's it. Versus the movie, the
They changed
hammock
it.
scene is not the end. And I was like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
oh.
Yeah.
So yes, they're in the hammock. It's nighttime. The setting is right. The characters are right. The conversation's a little different. I was like,
Yeah.
oh,
I
okay,
like so
remix.
Winston's like, I decided to go back to Jamaica to go to medical school,
Mm-hmm.
and Stella's like, I don't want you to leave, but I'm not going to stop you, kind of
Yeah,
reaction. And so we see him packing up, and Stella, as soon as the taxi pulls away, she's like antsy. And in my head, I was like, they talk about her running all the time, and she's running at the beginning of the movie. I wanted her to run after the taxi because that
I
would have
did
been so good.
too.
And I was like, I was watching with Isaac. I was like, she's gonna run, she's gonna run, and then she doesn't run. And I was
She's
just
just
like,
there.
but she
I
just
was like,
shows
well,
up
did
at
you teleport? What in the hell? Because it's
the airport.
raining. There's traffic. I was like, as a girlie who lives in a big ass city, everyone
Yeah.
knows when it's raining, that means traffic and unfortunately accidents. So how did you get there so fast, especially with an airport? I also work in an airport. How,
Hmm.
how, there's no way. I'm so sorry. How are you gonna get to the terminal in
Yeah.
rain in a big city? I call bullshit, girl. You better be sprinting through the rain.
Hmm.
You better be running through the raindrops. What? Okay, the
I wanted the
Flash.
drama. I wanted her
I
running, but
did
instead she
too.
appears and is like, ever think about Stanford? And then she says yes to getting married.
Yes. So he asked her to get married
Hmm.
and in the hammock. And in the book, she says she thinks about it and all that. And she says, okay.
Yeah.
In the movie, he asked her to get married. He like no, so he cleans up her space, like the space
Hmm.
where she did furniture. He clean me with my Wanda hands. He cleans up the space. He cleans up the space. He invites her in, and she's in like a red sexy robe, and like he's like, follow me. And he like takes her where I'm taking that. He takes her and he's like, follow me. And he takes her. And he takes her to the room. He cleaned everything up so she
Mm-hmm.
could like finally do her stuff. And then she's this brand new like furniture thingy he bought her. And long story short, he wants her to pursue her dream. He gives her the box. She opens it. It's a ring. She says, "Let me think about it." It's not a no. It's just let me think about it. And then it makes
Mm-hmm.
sense. And then she ends up at the airport or where the train station,
Mm-hmm.
wherever that man was going. And she's like, "Have you ever thought about Stanford?" They kiss. He spins her around. And I was like, and then she says yes to getting married. I wish we could have gotten a little bit of that like voiceover about why she said yes.
Mm-hmm.
I will say in the book, there was so much of her thought that happens a lot. In the film, it would have been nice to see her running through the terminal, searching for him, going up the
Yes.
stairs, like wet because it was raining. It would
Yeah.
have been nice to finally hear her say, like in her mind, like, I thought about my best friend. I thought about how short life is. I thought about how much I've grown, how much he's taught me. And I
Mm.
really want him to stay. I want to build a home with this man. I'm going to say yes.
Yeah.
We didn't get any. It just felt like, what made you change your mind
I feel
in the
like
film?
part of the reason why we didn't get that is because the pacing of this movie is so weird,
Yeah.
right? It's like more than half of it is in Jamaica, but all the like the drama and the tension happens when they're back in the States.
Mm-hmm.
And they're smacking so much. And I do think they did a good job of consolidating the book as far as
Mm.
this parts that take place back in San Francisco. But the ending, I agree. I think we needed a little bit more payoff to the drama. We
I
just needed to
agree.
see her running on the sidewalk. One more close up of Angela Bassett running, you know?
I needed her to like be at like a light sprint. I was like, all
Hmm.
right, girl, all right. But I
Yeah.
will say, better chemistry in the movie than the book. The
Yes.
end scene, which did you prefer? The book ending or the film ending? Like the book ending in the little like hammock, or the film ending in the airport?
I think I liked the book ending in the hammock slightly better. I could have liked the movie if they literally just showed a little bit more pining at the end,
Okay.
you know? Or like, you know, maybe instead of her being at the airport, maybe she ends up being on the same plane as him. You know, like just a
Mm.
little bit more pining than I would have liked the movie ending a little bit more, I think. But my issue with this movie is that I the chemistry between Stella and Winston was a little bit lacking for me, which is interesting because
Ooh.
I think both Angela Bassett and Taye Diggs are so talented and so beautiful, and they did a great
Yeah.
job acting, but like the
Yeah.
actual chemistry outside of the like steamy scene,
Mm.
I felt very little of it. And I think I just was
Ooh.
not invested in their relationship when I was watching the movie. And I don't know why. Just like I didn't feel their chemistry outside of the steamy scene. And I think they did a great job acting. Like again, like they're two wonderful actors, you know? But I don't know. I think the
Hmm.
movie I just felt something off. Like there was more chemistry between Angela Bassett and Whoopi Goldberg than there were to me. You know, I don't know.
Hey. I like this hot take. I'm here for it.
I don't know.
I think the pretty factor, where two good looking people are giving each other attention, sometimes can like distract from like the reality of like, is there
Yeah,
actually
maybe it was
chemistry
that.
here?
I don't
Is it
know.
believable
'Cause
you'd be together? I think the actors did their best to maintain the character. I feel like Winston, when I think of
yeah,
Winston, I do think Taye Diggs.
yeah.
Um,
Oh,
Angela
he did an
Bassett was a
excellent
great
job.
Stella.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did great jobs. I will say that Whoopi Goldberg's character, like being introduced and being a major part of the story, I agree was a really important part of the movie.
Hmm.
I prefer the book ending as well. I just felt
Hmm.
like it was a little rushed. It just felt a little rushed
A
to
little
me.
rushed. I
Like
agreed.
I think I also needed to see her run to him. I needed to see her pursue the relationship just as much as he did.
Hmm.
If she said, "Have you ever thought of Stanford?" I would have preferred for her to like have like printed out like a pamphlet or something like that. Like, I found a program, and I wanted to see her a little flustered. I wanted to see her
Yes.
like show a little bit of like that desperation where it's like, don't go. Like, I think he also would have loved, like in the hammock scene in the book, I like how he said, like, tell me not to
Hmm.
leave. It showed that men also want to be pursued. Like, they
Hmm.
also want a rom-com moment.
Yeah.
And it would have been nice to see him say, like, don't make me leave. You
Yep.
know, what options do I have? Like, tell me my options. As a couple, it's not all on him. You know what I mean? To
Mhm.
figure out how this is going to work. You also need to show him how it's going to work. Give him options. Hey, this great medical school's here. Like, but I also support you if you really do just want to go home.
Mhm.
That would have been nice to see her be like, I'm never going to ask you to stay somewhere you don't want to be. I'm not your
Mhm.
only reason for being here, but also there's so many opportunities here. I'm in love with you. I'll support whatever you want, but the selfish part of me wants you to stay. That is a proclamation of love.
Yeah.
That is vulnerable. And it would
Yeah.
have been full circle. You know what I mean?
I
That would
agree.
have been full circle. Like it maybe even like seeing if I was gonna rewrite the ending, I would have had her close the door,
Mhm.
like when he gets in the cab, turn on the TV, like trying to like get the house in order. And she sees the ad for Jamaica, but this time she sees memories of her
That
with
would have been cute.
Winston
Yeah.
and like memories with her best friend and thinking like, you know, I don't really need to go on vacation anymore because like my happy place is like with him.
Mhm. Yeah.
That would have been a oh my god moment. I need to go after him,
Mhm.
even if he didn't get that far. Like even if he like was driving and he's
Yeah.
able to jog after the car, like wait, that would have
Because of the
been like a
traffic. Because traffic in San Francisco, of course. Exactly. We
girl.
needed her to run. If she's gonna be a runner, she's got to run.
She's a runner. She's a track star. It had to be something.
You want to hear some fun facts?
Yes, I would.
So this movie is Taye Diggs' cinematic debut. He was his first movie after he found fame on Broadway for Rent and Carousel. Um,
Wow.
yeah, so this is his first
I didn't
theatrical
know
debut. Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I knew
Um,
him in Rent, but wow, I didn't know
mhm.
that.
So Taye Diggs was 27 when they filmed this, and Angela Bassett was 13 years older than him, and then the kid playing Quincy is 13 years younger than him.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
That's
cool, huh?
crazy.
Right? Yeah.
Whoa.
And then the co-writer of the script, so Terry McMillan co-wrote it with Ron Bass, and Ron Bass also wrote Rain Man, the Joy Luck Club script, Waiting to Exhale with Terry McMillan, and My Best Friend's Wedding.
Oh, I love My Best Friend's Wedding.
Me
I would do all
too.
those. I haven't seen Rain Man yet, but I
I
do
haven't
love My
either.
Best Friend's Wedding.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So just some
Cool.
fun facts. Yeah. Um,
Wow.
the big question, is this movie a good adaptation?
Hmm. I think so. I think that all the changes were improvements.
Hmm.
I also think the characters were fleshed out more. It was all about Stella, obviously, in the book, but in the film, I felt we got a better view of her family, of Winston. I like it's a great adaptation. It's the
Yeah.
short, sweet answer of it. What about you?
I agree. I agree. I think it's a good adaptation because it does improve on the book. It takes what the book was trying to say, right? About this woman finding her groove, which happened to be a man, which we talked about last episode. But
Yeah.
she, that journey, she still goes on. But I think she has changed more in the movie than she is in the book in a good
Mm.
way. And I think that is what was missing for me a lot in the book was that she changes due to the lessons she learned from her friend Delilah, but also through her relationship with Winston. So I agree. I think it's a good adaptation. Yeah. Yeah.
That makes me really, really happy. Midnight also gives a positive review. He is purring and he is super, super happy. But
Cute.
we watched this movie together actually. But it was a very, very good like I think it reminded me a lot of the new Anne Hathaway film. Oh my god, The Idea of You.
Oh, I never saw that.
Oh, okay. So non spoiler, a woman it takes her daughter to the equivalent of Coachella, where they see this
Yeah.
like boy band, pretty much One Direction, and
It's based off One Direction fanfic, right?
yes, and she
Yeah.
sees the Harry Styles like character, and he's singing,
Hmm.
and like long story short, there's a connection. You see where the story goes from there. It ends very differently than what you would think.
Okay.
And it was a very interesting approach of like an age gap, boundaries, and what love looks like when people aren't communicating, but
Hmm.
they both want each other. There's just social issues. It's interesting. But this
Yeah.
movie reminded me a lot of the similar vibes, like The Idea of You, an older woman falling for a younger man who's open to pursuing her, but she's afraid of judgment from others, which valid. Also, she has a child. Also, she's established in her career. She
Hmm.
wants him, but she doesn't necessarily want the judgment from society that comes with being with him.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So
Cool.
yeah, very
Yeah.
similar. So yes, similar energy.
Hmm.
If you liked the vibes of this, I think you'll like the idea of you.
Okay, at the beginning of the episode, we talked about briefly who would play you in a movie of your life, and I was
Yeah.
thinking about it, and I think um I would like Amanda Seyfried to play me because when I was younger and
Ooh.
blonder, people said I looked slightly like her because she also has big blue eyes, but she has acting range where she could be very serious, but also she could be very
Mm.
goofy, and I'm
I
quite a
agree.
goofy person, so I think I would like an actress who could do both.
Mm. Mamma Mia energy. Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Also, she was great in the Red Riding
Mm-hmm.
retelling, the Red Riding Hood
Mm-hmm.
retelling. That was fun. I've seen her in a haunted house movie as well, or like a spooky movie. She played Sirius
Mm-hmm.
really good.
Yeah.
Um,
And then she
she was a
played
true
dumb
crime
like in Mean
documentary.
Girls, right?
Yes, she
Yeah.
does have Dear John. You
Hmm.
know, she has those
She
vibes.
has range. So
Yes.
I think she'd do a
Yes.
good job. And I think when I was younger and blonder, I looked more like her than I do now.
The energy and the
Hmm.
vibes are immaculate.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Who would play
Okay.
you?
Yes. Amanda Stenberg, who played Rue in the Hunger
Ooh,
Games.
yes.
I
Yes.
had my actress ready. I know who I am. I would choose her. I
She's
would
a
choose
great
her in a
actress.
heartbeat. I know some
Yeah.
people say like, not to toot my own horn, but I'm sitting here, I'm like, I think I'm a pretty decent looking person. And I think she's gorgeous. And I
Yes.
think also she's also queer. Woo! And I
Hell
liked
yeah.
her comedic timing in Bodies, Bodies, Bodies.
I've
Um,
still not
it
seen it.
it is so good. I didn't
I
expect it
need
to be
to.
so funny. It felt like a
Hmm.
black comedy. It felt like it was supposed to be thrillery, but there was
Yeah.
just so many pokes at like society and like
Okay.
there were just so many scenes where it's like your parents aren't rich, they're middle class. There are certain things that were said, and I was like, wait the fuck up. You can't say that.
Is it super scary or like only a little bit?
No, it's
Okay, cool.
not. It
Cool.
feels
Because
like
I'm a
Clue,
wimp.
but if they were like 21 years old and they were vapes.
I'm sold.
It feels like Pete Davidson is there.
They're
Yeah,
21 years old and they're vapes. Hilarious.
yeah, it feels like Clue, but if everyone was 21 and they were vapes and like they're drinking Monster, and then the house they're in is like your best friend's dad's house, and you're like, it's not even her house. Like it's one
Yeah.
of those things where it's like it feels like Twitter before it went bad. It feels like
Yeah.
that. It's not
I'll add it to
scary.
my list. I'll add it to
It's
my list.
very there's like yes, there's death in the film, but it's like you it just feels like you're in a house full of like your frenemies. Like no one really
Cool.
likes each other,
Yeah, yeah.
but you have photos of them all over your social media. Like it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's very yeah. It was
Okay.
so I would choose
Okay.
her. If I didn't choose her, I would probably choose. There was this actress. She was in Deadpool 2, and
Hmm.
I'm literally gonna look up her name. I apologize for butchering it, but she played this character called like Domino, and it's Zazie Beats, and I feel like she would play an older version of me pretty
Hmm.
well. She's 33 years old. I'm 26. I'll close enough. But yes, as long as they have curly hair and they are funny, but also can be like I don't know, like quirky, I'll take it. Ooh, you know what I will say? If
Hmm.
I was gonna shoot for the stars, SZA. I would choose SZA to play me. If I was gonna shoot for the stars,
I
why the
love
hell not?
SZA.
What the hell? Why
God.
the hell not? Also, she played a character who is my name,
Uh-huh.
Alyssa. She played a character in One of Them Days. Her character's name is Alyssa. So,
I'm so bummed
yeah,
I missed when that was in theaters. I was
it's so
like,
good.
I think I had to work the weekend that I wasn't. It's
It's
once it's
okay.
on streaming, I'm watching it. I'm
It's on
so excited to
Netflix.
watch it. Is it on Netflix? Okay, once I
Yeah,
get Netflix again, I'll
yeah,
watch it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I would. Why the fuck not? If we're rolling the dice, I'm choosing
Yes.
SZA. What the heck? Why not?
Why
So,
not?
we're both short, curvy, and I think she could pull off a fro pretty well. Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
choose SZA. Why not? So yes, that's the energy. I think
Yeah.
that if our lives became movies, ooh, would yours be like a rom com or like a comedy, or would it be like artsy and like edgy?
I think it'd be more of a comedy, but
Mm.
like a very like millennial, like 2010s hipster comedy in a slightly
Ooh,
cringe way because I
ooh.
know myself and as much as I think I'm like sometimes I have cool and artsy moments, I'm just a millennial and I like Zooey Deschanel way too much, you know?
Oh, new girl
Hmm.
energy.
Hmm.
Yes.
Like yeah, I like at one point, the movie would have been really cool and artsy, but back, with time, it's just gone slightly cringy in like a fun way. And as a millennial, I'm trying to just accept the cringe, I can't hide from it. I just gotta accept it. But yeah. What about you?
I think it'd be my life would be like a 90s rom-com mixed with a little bit of like Step Brothers humor.
Okay. Yes,
I
yes.
I need like I need I have a lot of father figures in my life. I think I would want Will Ferrell, Ashton Kutcher, and Robert De Niro as to play like my father figures because I have three very particular fathers in my life. So I'm like I would need those men
That's
specifically
funny.
to play my father figures. But yeah, I think it would be like a You've Got Mail. I
Yeah,
think my life would be, I've dated a lot, so I think it would be like a You've Got Mail.
I
Uh,
love that.
I did a lot. So I think it would be nice to have like my real life happy love. I think
Hmm.
it would be nice to have that like intertwined. I loved the style of that film, and I think it
Yeah,
discussed heavy stuff, but also was like charming. I think that's the
yeah,
word I want. I want it to be charming. So yeah,
I love that.
and
Yeah,
funny, like funny in a way it shouldn't be, but it works. I love
but
Step
it
Brothers.
works.
Yes, oh, like 51st Dates.
Hmm.
Ooh, that energy.
Yes.
Yes,
Well,
yes. So, yeah.
thanks, Alyssa, for joining the podcast.
Thank you for having me. This was amazing. Unhinged, bookish movie vibes.
Always.
Yes.
I love
Let's check
it. And
again.
if you want to listen to Alyssa's podcast, we're going to do so many episodes, so go check that out. Just
Stories and spoilers, the
my brain always wants to
podcast.
split it.
It's okay. Yeah,
Stories
we
and
discuss
spoilers
books
podcast.
and spoilers, and sometimes
Yeah.
non spoilers. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I'll link down Alyssa's podcast in the link, so
Thank you.
definitely go check that out. Make sure you follow us on your preferred podcast platform. Follow us on Instagram at Read the Book First Podcast. Check out the Patreon. Everything is linked below. Go follow
Mhm.
Alyssa. Thank you for
Yeah.
listening. And remember, read the book first.